What's up you guys, welcome back to the channel. It is your local problematic Leo, and today on Where in the Warframe, we're going to be talking about 5 different features that DE either abandoned, forgot about, or kind of did something with, but have left me wondering, is this it? Is this the final version of this? Or are we going to be getting something more in the future? Regardless, I do have to put a bit of a disclaimer because I think on my last video, we had some like apologists that came out of the woodwork, and well, not really woodwork, there was like 2. And they were like, oh my god, they're working so hard, you guys, you just lay off of them. But listen, take this as constructive feedback, you know, saying, listen, we're interested in these things. We like what you kind of sort of did with them, but we kind of sort of want a little bit more, you know, if you have the time. We're just putting it out there. All right? Now, this video actually was inspired by the very first Where in the Warframe is, of course, the Nightwave stories. I know we just took a look at the most recent version of Nora's Interlude. Is that what we're calling it now? Or Nora's Mix? We used to only have like an interlude or a mix like every other story, because I thought that that's what this was supposed to bring, a little bit of lore, a little bit of extra flavor. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, the direction that Warframe is going with their lore right now, it's like in a whole bunch of like random like where did this come from direction, but we have so much rich lore that is already in the game that we could totally like expound on all of that, right? And I've said this a million times over because I'm a big fan of our current syndicates, and some of the characters that are in those syndicates, literally they got like a kiddie pool's depth of lore in the game. They gave them just like a touch of lore. But I feel like they really could be explored somewhere in Nightwave. And I mean, the fact that these syndicates are out there and existing and all have a purpose and a drive, you know, that we're all kind of linked to. Like, we literally have to make a pledge to some of these syndicates. Could you at least maybe give us some flavor via, you know, the Nightwave as to what they're actually doing? But maybe that's gonna make us want to help them less. I mean, we do have New Loka, which, you know, as much as they're very green and very natural and very helpful and all that kind of stuff, they're also a little, actually, we also Red Veil. Red Veil's kind of extremist too. And we don't really know what Steel Meridian is fighting for, do we? We don't know, you know? And I figure that Teflon Suda is probably playing big sister and keeping an eye on all of us. Listen, there are issues, and maybe that's the reason why DE doesn't want to explore them. But bring back the Nightwave stories, because the other thing that I really loved about them is they kind of did something very similar to what Tactical Operations did. Now, if you are a Warframe veteran, you completely remember what the Tactical Operations were. Basically, DE would kind of soft launch a new game mode, and we would all kind of stress test them during these events. And we would get, you know, oh my god, remember they had the little arm thing where it would like change and it would evolve as you would get more of these tactical alerts. Yeah, they abandoned that too. Ooh, that should that should be included on this list somewhere, but think of that as like a sub option B. But they would soft launch some of these new game modes, and I'm gonna be honest with you, there are a couple game modes that I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even know, and I don't even care to know. I think it's not, don't get me wrong, I love me some Void Flood. I couldn't tell you what I'm supposed to do in Void Cascade. I really couldn't. And you know what? I couldn't be fucking bothered to figure it out either. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm doing something, and I'm going to be killing some stuff. So, I feel like maybe if DE could take some time to soft launch these game modes via the Nightwave stories, that might be nice for, you know, at least a little competency. So that's number 1 on our list. Number 2 of our Where in the Warframes, this is going to be a very quick and easy one. So, Umbra Forma, are we done? Is that a wrap? Because legitimately, we got that one set that came out with the sacrifice, and that's it. And don't get me wrong, okay? We don't need a whole bunch of new mods for it, but we do have a whole ass polarity for Umbra Forma. We do cherish these Umbra Forma because we only get them on an 8-week rotation within, you know, the, what is it? The Conclave, is it Conclave? It's the Teshin rewards. It's the Steel Path, there you go. We have so many systems, I swear to God. But yeah, alright, so we're just gonna stop there. And I mean, we could keep boosting up tower resistance, but it might be interesting to see if they add in maybe like an Umbra redirection or an Umbra vigor. Things along that Umbra. I mean, I don't think they want us to have an Umbra stretch, but like an Umbra stretch, an Umbra streamline, and maybe not give us necessarily tower resistance, but maybe give us like murmur resistance. You know, they're adding in all these other factions, and you know, they're very interesting, not the normal factions, so why not go ahead and kind of expand on that a little bit, since we have a whole ass polarity that's dedicated to it. Secondaries and primaries don't have any Umbra Forma either. I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. And if DE feels that, you know, maybe having the Umbra Forma boost each other one up, they can keep the cap at 3. They don't need to like make the cap 5 or anything, you know, just keep the cap at 3, but give us different options. I'm putting it out there. Ooh, now, number 3 on our features that have gone missing list. This one is actually one of the big ones for me. Dual wielding. Now, I don't know if the rest of you guys remember this, but definitely the dedicated players and the veterans out there remember when we had dual wielding as a thing that DE was gonna try to introduce. Okay? So we had the glaive and the pistol, and that was amazing. But we were all waiting for, like, at least me, I was waiting for single pistol and rapier. That would have been super fun. Then, ooh, I really like some of the machetes, like new movement sets, like a machete and a single. I would feel so piratey. Do you understand how that would, listen, our flag means death. If you have not watched that show, you have absolutely no clue what I mean. But the gay pirate lives in me. But I think that it would be absolutely sickening if we could get that kind of stuff added in. And I was actually thinking, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is one of those things that I kind of hesitate doing because I feel like there's a lot of ideas that I put out into the universe that manifested in some way, shape, or form that people would love to think that I had no hand in, and there are other people that would never mention that I have a hand in it, but I'm just saying it is not my job to give DE ideas. I'm not being paid for that, so I don't want to go too in-depth in what I would do for this. But you know, we do have those arcanes that would cycle between the two. It would be cool if they actually melded together really, really well in the dual wield system. I was almost thinking something very similar to if you're dual wielding, maybe your gunshots will count as your combo counter, and you'd be able to expend them into, like, you know, a big, what is it, like, not finisher, the big charge up ability, you know what I'm talking about, the big ability, or maybe even have the pistol be able to trigger Tennokai so that you could use your, there's so many things that you can do, and it's really not my job to tell you, unless you want to pay me. But you know, there's a lot of things, like maybe killing an enemy with a gun weapon would activate Tennokai, or killing an enemy with a gun weapon, or getting a headshot with a gun weapon would give you a boost in melee combat for a second, you know what I mean? And then you'd have access to it. I'm just saying, maybe there could be even a cool finisher where you like spear an enemy and then you shoot him in the face. Come on! The possibilities are there. I'm so excited. Please, let's expand on the dual wield weapons. It would make my little gay heart so happy. I love it. I love the thought of this. It makes me so sad that that is one of the ones that DE forgot about. Now, these last two ones in this Where in the Warframe episode, they kind of did something with. And I'm gonna tap into the rest of the audience to let me know whether you think that we're done or maybe we need more. Alright, so you know how we've had like Melee 3.0, right? Because Melee 2.0 wasn't really 2.0ing enough. Well, another 2.0 that I don't think really is quite there, is Pets 2.0. I was actually double checking all of like the bond mods before I got into this, and I know that you can combine bond mods, at least from what I've seen. I'm only using like one at a time, and not very many of them called out to me, but maybe there's some synergies that I have not seen yet that are very potent. But I just feel like the bond mods are kind of a cop-out. They're like halfway there. They're like almost there, and I really felt like, you know, there needed to be something a little bit more when it came to the companions. Specifically, you know, Kubros, and Kavats. And we can also, you know, bring in their little infested counterparts as well as the, what, Vol? Something, and meta, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But I was thinking something along the lines of some Warframe passives and some pet passives. So basically, when a Warframe equipped this, their pet would receive a passive from the Warframe. You know, very simple things like bonus fire damage from Ember, or bonus ice damage from Frost. Very simple things. Or maybe even like increased attack animation speed or something from like Valkyr. You know, all of those kind of things to make it feel better, but also have the pets give a passive to the Warframe. They don't have to be very big, because, you know, when they were talking about having these pets, they would have them kind of like interact with our Warframe's abilities, and I'm just not feeling like the interaction is there, right? I feel like we have these bond mods that kind of do some stuff, but not really. But we could also have like Kavats, like something like provide bonus casting speed because they're supposed to be agile, you know? And then Kubros, maybe because they're stalwart, will help prevent knockdowns or something along those lines. You know, just giving these additional bonuses that make you feel that you are more linked to your pets. But also having them kind of like respond to your abilities. So maybe we don't have a passive that grants them innate fire damage when you are in Ember, but when an Ember does her World on Fire, is it called World on Fire now? No, it's like Incinerate. I don't know what it's called anymore. I'm calling it World on Fire, but you know what I mean, right? That all of a sudden the Kubro or the Kavat would get bonus fire damage. Something where it feels like when your Warframe does something, it also affects the pet in a bonus way. Like if you're doing like Aqua Blades with not Marilena, oh my god, what is her name? Ureli. With Ureli, that, you know, your pet would all of a sudden have bonus slash damage. Something along those lines to make it feel like you've done something. Or if you're casting a single target ability on an enemy, your pet knows, I'm gonna attack that enemy. Something where it feels like you guys are working in tandem with each other, and maybe even, and this is where it gets kind of like murky, because like there's a lot of different there's a lot of different precepts for pets, right? But maybe having a certain classification of pet ability, like this pet ability is like an AoE debuff, this pet ability is a single target debuff, this pet ability is a single target damage ability. And maybe putting them in those broad categories and then saying, if a single target ability is used, your pet will automatically do this. If a single target AoE debuff is used, your pet will do this. You know, just so that it feels like you're actually fighting in tandem instead of just like, you know, hoping your pet does right. But I guess that's what happens, you know, when you're raising pets. You're like, please, don't mess things up and stay alive. So I guess maybe DEs capture that. All right, the last but not least one. This one is kind of a deep cut, and I think that they did do something with this, but maybe not in the way that everybody necessarily wanted them to do. There was, and I cannot remember which one it was, but I remember it specifically because there was art made for it. But it was during one of the TennoCon big panels, right? We were talking about operator combat, and very similarly to the pets, they were talking about how our operators would actually interact with our Warframes and maybe almost have like team up abilities. Again, I'm thinking about this whole like if then kind of computation space where like, okay, if our operator uses this style of ability, your Warframe in the background will do something like that as an AoE pulse around the stationary Warframe. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like one of those things where I felt like we were talking about, I mean, we even saw like operator melee at that point, and we're like, ooh, like the operators are actually going to have something that makes them more interesting because their movement is okay, if not slightly wonky, but we make it work, you know, we do what we can with what we got. So to have this kind of synergy between Warframe and operator, maybe even just like, oh, see, I don't want to like settle for less, because then it's gonna make them think that they can do less, but even like an aura around where they like teleport, or where you transfer it out of your Warframe and it leaves like an aura behind. Like, you know, if I hate to keep bringing it up, but like Ember, and then you're in that area around Ember, or where you dropped off Ember, and you could have bonus fire damage to your amps. Now, speaking of amps, please let us mod our amps. Please let us mod our amps. Like, you can rebalance the base stats of the amps, but like, can we put some mods on them to make them feel a little less janky? Because they feel kind of jank, and if we really want to do something with operator combat, it will be nice. I was saying just a second ago, I think I was saying just a second ago, that we were talking about operator combat, and they might have even showed operator melee. And I know that that probably got worked into the Drifter, but I have zero feelings about the Drifter. Let me know if you guys want a video about the things that I just am not interested in Warframe. I was just thinking about it right before I was like sitting down to script this video. There are so many things. I'm just like, no thank you. No thank you, Warframe. Do not want to revisit that at all. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I just felt kind of like operator combat, it doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good because there's like a lot of things where it does not feel like you have much control. Like, here is your amp. I hope it works well for you. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like, okay, how does my amp work against this level enemy? Like, is there any way I can modify this amp to make it work better against X, Y, and Z? Right now, I don't think we have that. We have some weird things in the ways of arcanes, which will change the damage type. But yo, that's not a good way to alter the functionality. And I know that this is definitely going to be one of those things that is a lot of work, and maybe isn't work that's worth it to them. I don't know. But let me know about that in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about my 5 where are they now Warframe features, because legitimately there are so much more. And oh, I forgot to say this at the very beginning. This is a disclaimer too. I was only going for kind of like mid-level to low-level range things. I do understand, you know, where are raids? Where are the raids? There are much bigger things that we could address, but I wanted to kind of get, you know, the things that maybe they actually might be able to get their hands in a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, let me know if you feel like there are other where in the Warframes that we can go ahead and explore. And I think that about does it for me for now. I hope this got the juices flowing in your Warframe brain. Please do leave me feedback though. I think that there's so much to talk about. Anyway, that about does it for me for now. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.